Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. This is Mr. Shakespeare going with you on the 12th of March, 2025, joined as usual. My psychic medium and remote viewer, Liz Cross. How are we doing today, Liz?
I am doing very well, thank you. I'm intrigued as to what you have lined up for us. I will say this, for those of you that are looking for confirmation bias in these mind probes, look away now, right? Because that's not what you're going to get. The media spins things and, has a PR team and they control the information. When we go into a mind probe, there are no controls there. There's no PR team. There's no media. And you're getting what the truth is. So if you're looking for that bias, then please, this may not be the video for you. Anyway, that being said, Mr. Shakespeare, what do you have lined up for us today?
Well, we have quite a bit lined up. So obviously I knew in the last couple of days I had a session booked with you today. And then I was noodling last night and yesterday and today I put a whole bunch of posts up on the Discord. So basically I'm gonna go through a lot of that and then go through a bigger picture scenario because, as you know, I like to zoom out as far as possible because I always want to know what's going on geopolitically. So we're going to start with Auntie Janet Yellen. Um, so we need a connection with her, please.
Okay, I have her here.
Okay. So when she was Secretary of the Treasury, she made the decision, or the decision was made, to only extend the debt on a short-term basis, which now means that there's something like $7 or $8 trillion of debt that has to be rolled over under the Trump administration and in 2025. So my question to her is, why did she do it on such short term?
Why did you? And how much is it again? I'm
Well, I don't know
sorry.
exactly, but it's somewhere between 7 and 8 trillion that has to be rolled over now. There's about 28 trillion that has to be rolled over within 3 years, but I'm specifically concerned about the 2025 rollover. So my question is, why didn't she roll it over onto long-term debt, say 10 years, 20 years, 30 years? Why did she do it on debt that has to be paid this year and then in a couple of years' time?
Why didn't you roll the debt over into long term instead of short term? She wasn't allowed to, is what she said to me.
Oh, okay. And
She was told what to do.
and who told her what to do?
Who told you what had, who told you to make the debt short term, which means now it has to be rolled over in 2025? This was down to the Biden administration.
Oh, okay. Is she aware of the problems that that's going to cause? Because the debt now has to be rolled over, but obviously at a much higher interest rate.
You realize the problem that this is going. Yes, she brought that to their attention.
And what was their response?
And what was there? They didn't care. She said that it's not, we don't care, is what she says.
That's almost anti-American of what they've done. I mean, they're causing they rolling that debt over on such a short-term basis is going to cause America problems. Do you? Does
Like what kind of problems?
Well, the team Trump has to now roll this over, but the interest rates are going to be a lot higher. So you're going to be paying a lot more interest than you could have paid on the debt. I'm not saying the debt could be paid off or anything like that, but it can't. But, if you could pay one rate or pay a lesser rate, you'd choose the lesser rate, wouldn't you? I mean, because this has got to be rolled over this year, I think it's 3 to 4 trillion. Let's go with 3 trillion. That's going to have to be reissued at a much higher debt rate, at a much higher interest rate. And so therefore that's going to, directly affect American payments and everything else. So why does she believe if the Biden administration did that, why did she believe, does she know why they did it?
You know why they did it? No, she doesn't ask questions. She just takes orders.
Okay.
Now, I have the founding fathers here. I like to use them as the backup.
Uh-huh.
I said, will we ever get rid of this debt? I'm getting a no.
Oh no, you won't. No, no, no. No. Okay. So they're okay. So Team Biden did this deliberately. Um, a lot of people might speculate they did it deliberately because they knew Trump was coming into power. Or was it done because we need to ask the founding father this? Or was it done just purely as a political move? Or is there a deeper thing going on here to do with any kind of reset?
Oh, was this a political move? No, this is what they're saying to me is this was the simple solution, the quick, fast, simple solution. Get it done now, worry about it later. That's typically how the US has been operating, they said, for years, decades.
I know, but
This is the
they
system.
could have rolled it over onto longer term debt, and then that would have been one less problem that Team Trump have to deal with. You know, I'm not saying it would ever get paid off. I don't believe it will. Not under current rules or regulations or practices. But instead of, taking on a year or 2 year debt, why didn't they take a 10-year debt? That would have been, it takes them just as long to get that issued than 2 year. So, I mean, I'm trying to find out whether this was done purely as a political thing to, sabotage Trump, Team Trump, or has this something to do with what I think it might be, which is to do with some kind of reset?
Was this to sabotage the new incoming administration? No, because they honestly thought they were going to win the next election. No. Is this to sabotage and cause a reset? Yes, because eventually you will not be able to keep rolling this over and you will have to reset. Yes.
Right. But when they did it, so they did it short term just to get over the fence because they thought they were going to win, and then Team Biden would have done something else. Is that what the founding fathers are saying?
Yes, they fully anticipated at the time of making these decisions that Biden would be elected for the next term.
Right. So they would be able to then have it under their control.
Yes, and then they would know they would dispel the debt.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, that does answer that. Okay, that's fine. Um, okay. Let's just hold Janet there a minute, and we need to grab Jim Sinclair now, please.
Okay.
He passed away, fairly recent. Well, in the last year or two, I think. I can't remember.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I have him here.
How's he doing? Is he okay?
He loves talking to us.
Oh, good. Well, he's going to love my questions then, isn't he? Hopefully. Okay. When he was on the Earth plane, he had the nickname of Mr. Gold because of his obviously interest in mines and Tanzania. I mean, everything, this man lived and breathed and everything gold. Was it true, though, that he was not really allowed to comment on much else politically or anything like that? Although he was an insider. But was it true that he was really prevented on commenting on most things apart from gold and the financial system and, things like that?
Is that true? I mean, yes, but he chose to censor himself. He knew that if he did not, it would be suicide. Like it would be his career suicide.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I used to follow him, JM Mindset, for years. So, yeah, what this man doesn't know about gold. Now then, is there any plans uh, to reset the price of gold many multiples upwards under the by a Trump administration?
Are
This is
there
all to
any
do with
plans?
the reset or the debt or whatever, but is there any plans to do that?
Are there any plans to reset the price of gold? No, it will reset itself naturally and it will go upward.
Right. Is that because the paper market, the derivative market, will separate from the physical market? In other words, there'll be default at LBMA or the COMEX or something like that? Or is there another reason why that would happen?
Another reason.
Okay. Can you tell me what the reason is, please?
Are we going into are we going to default on the debt? I think we are going to default on some of the debt.
You mean as in the US?
Mm-hmm. As in the US. Yes, we are going to get to a point where we can no longer pay even the interest on the debt. We
Right.
will have no choice but to default.
Is that going to happen in 2025?
Is that going to happen in 2025? No.
26?
Is that going to happen in 26? No. It may be 27, 28.
Okay.
This system cannot carry on like this, is
I
what we're
know.
getting.
Oh, I know that. Yeah, I'm fully aware of that, but I'm trying to find out what, how, because there's people that saying, they will reset the price of gold over one weekend or something, or the price of gold will get reset over a weekend to many multiples higher than it is now, you know. Um, okay, does he believe the US has all the gold that they say they have? And second part of the question, is it all unencumbered or is it, hypothecated out to various parties?
Okay, so the first part is, does the US have all the gold that it says it has? No, it's been given out.
Right, because it's supposed to have about 8,000 tons of it. So,
No, less than that.
all right. Is it still in US custody, though, the gold? I mean, is it on US soil?
Is it still in US custody? Uh, no, not always. No.
All right.
Some of it is in Russia.
Okay. Interesting. So some US gold is custodied in Russia.
Some of the US gold. Yes.
Okay, but does the US have custody of other countries' gold?
Does the US have other countries' gold? Silver.
Oh, just silver, no gold?
Is it just silver? Mostly silver.
Oh, okay. All right. Um, does he think that the gold price will reset this year in 25?
Do you think the gold price? No,
26?
in 26. Will the gold price reset in 2026? I'm getting 26 going into 27. It's very possible.
So does that mean that they keep the economy, they keep the system going until that point?
I think they keep it going until they can't pay anymore. So
Right.
is that
But
what
that's what
you're
I'm
trying
trying
to
to get
say?
at. When can't they pay?
27.
Okay. Um,
And it may be easier to just default and start over.
okay. But I mean, that would pretty much trigger a global collapse if the US defaulted. Does he agree with that?
Absolutely. Would that happen? They're going to quickly have to change over to a new system.
Will this system in any way involve a central bank digital currency?
Will this system in any way involve the central bank digital currency? No,
Okay. Will it have some resemblance of the current dollar structure?
It will be the dollar, but
Yeah, but would
maybe
it
in
be like the
digital
new
form.
dollar or something? I mean, we've had many dollars, Confederate dollars. I mean, over the years, the dollar has changed so much, you know.
Um, will this be like the new dollar? It will, but it could be digital. It could be the digital dollar system, but it's not going to be, is it going to be universal? It's not going to be universal, as in it would be very specific to the US. It will still be the US dollar, not the world dollar.
So will there be like a two-tiered system, like a US dollar and then the rest of the world dollar? Will there be something like that?
To begin with, yes.
Okay. So the biggest problem in the world at the moment is the debt, which is obviously a feature of the system. You know, but there is too much debt. There's too much leverage. Um, how does he see that being managed this year? Because obviously at the moment, you know, everybody's feeling the pinch. Everybody's, you know, down. So how does he think Team Trump will deal with that this year?
How do you think the team Trump will deal with that? Uh, well, they're just gonna try and ride it out and keep, changing and trying to accommodate it. They are, what he says is they are trying to find a way out, but his personal opinion, what I'm getting through is they're in way over their heads.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Okay. Right, let's hold him here.
Will they at least, well, let's ask this question. Will they at least make a dent in the debt? Oh, they will make a significant dent in the debt. They are, and they will. But this debt is just, the clock is going up faster than they can fix the problem.
So the problem is that, you know, the stated debt is about 38 trillion, but if you add in, you know, Medicaid, and all the social programs and everything, pensions, the whole lot, the fact that the price, sorry, the amount is nearer to 200 trillion.
Wow, is the amount, he says it's more than that. He says it's really closer to 500.
Oh my God, really? That's the highest number I've ever heard. I thought I was being conservative on 200. I've heard 200 to 300 many times. If he thinks 500, oh my God. Does that include though things like derivatives and stuff like that, you know? I mean,
Does that include derivatives and things like that? Not really.
oh my God.
There's a lot of debt that is unaccounted for.
Oh my God. Oh dear. Okay.
So every time they think they're knocking a dent into the debt problem, they're uncovering more and more debt. It's like never ending debt. It's a never ending problem. The only way to fix the problem, according to him, is to completely collapse and start over.
Yeah.
Now, that's what he says. Now, the founding fathers, when I asked them, are we headed for a complete collapse? No, because of what Trump is doing to offset a complete collapse. Does Trump know that yes, he understands that. He
Mm.
understands that if this system is not fixed, we are headed for a complete collapse because of the debt, because we just can't keep paying on this.
No.
The interest alone is more what he says or what they say, and I'm talking to like Washington, he's actually leading the crew here. Um, it's more than what the taxpayers are paying into the system.
Right.
Now they're trying to fix it by obviously streamlining the services, streamlining government as much as possible. But, and when they think they're making some headway, they're uncovering more and more and more debt.
Right.
It seems like they're trying to pay the debt off. They're wanting to balance the books,
They
but it's
can't.
an impossible task, is what I'm getting from the founding fathers.
Right, unless they monetize all of the federal, sorry, the federal assets, if they revisit the price of, revalue upwards, massively upwards, the price of gold, that would be the only way to do, the US economy does not produce enough um to cut the debt down. So, I mean, we've had 4 years of Biden spending money on all sorts of things. Um, and not just Biden. I mean, every U.S. administration since the 70s has pretty much been involved in this. Um, you've only got to look
Yes.
at the M2 money supply on the St. Louis Fed. Up until about 71, that was the temporary, and then 73, the permanent. There was no real inflation in the U.S. And then when they took it off the gold standard, inflation has just gone up and up and up and up and up and up, and that's what it's done. you know. So let's hold Jim there for a minute and put somebody we haven't probed before.
Oh,
JP.
okay.
John Pierpont Morgan.
Okay,
Okay.
I have him here. Wow, I've never channeled him before. This will be great.
No, I don't think you ever have. So yeah. Okay. He trained under the Rothschilds. The Rothschilds basically set him up. He was the premier investment banker, obviously in New York, in America. Um, he he once famously said, gold is money, everything else is credit. Uh, what does
And
he
he
think?
still stands by that today, he just
Well, he's not,
said.
unfortunately, he's not wrong. Gold has been money longer than time, I think. Right. Okay. What does he think of the current financial situation, A, in the world, B, in America?
He says, according to him, we're headed for a world collapse of the financial system.
Yeah. Okay. Um, what does he think? What triggers it and when does it happen?
What triggers it? Well, the debt triggers it, and when will it
Okay.
happen? He doesn't see it happening for quite some time out. He doesn't
Oh,
believe it's going to be as close as, what we're feeling, what we're getting from other teams here. He believes it's much farther out until it's completely overturned into a new system. Now, will America be leading the charge? No, China will be leading the charge. We
right.
need China to go under with their debt, and that is going to make a significant impact for everyone to have to change over or swap systems just to do business with China. And he is telling me China is the world leader.
Yeah.
They're the ones that have positioned themselves to supply the world with all the goods that everybody needs and wants. Therefore, if you want to do business with China, you will have to swap over to the Chinese system.
Right. Okay. Well, that does not surprise me. Okay. What does he think of Trump trying to bring manufacturing then back to America?
Do you think about Trump trying to bring manufacturing? He thinks it's a good idea. It's part of the solution. Um, it's not going to be exactly how he wants it, but some companies will be moving back.
Yeah. Okay. Um, okay. What does he think will happen to the price of gold over the next year or two? The
What
dollar
do you
price of gold.
what do you think will happen to the price of gold over the next year or two? It will increase steadily. He says that the price of gold is heavily manipulated. They don't want it to go up.
Correct.
They don't want it to rise to ridiculous highs, because if that happens, everybody will pull out of the stock market and they will buy gold. And that could bankrupt or collapse, cause a collapse.
Right. Well, gold has always been the canary in the coal mine to the finance industry, so it's all heavily suppressed. When does he think the paper market will finally separate from the physical market?
When do you think the paper market will finally separate from the physical market? When do you think that? He says that's coming. Is it going to come anytime soon? Probably within the next decade.
Right.
And when you're saying the paper market, you're talking about the paper gold market,
Yeah,
right?
the derivatives, the COMEX, the MBA, where you're buying X amount of contracts and then, you don't actually stand for delivery and you roll them over. I mean, that's how they do all the shenanigans on the gold. I mean, that's how they manipulate the price of gold through the so-called paper market.
Ah, and that's why they're manipulating it, because they don't want the price to increase and lose money from the stock market. If everybody pulls out and buys gold and the price of gold soars, then they will be very hesitant to sell that gold. They will only sell it if they need to, or if you know, the rising cost of gold starts moving very slow. That's what they're trying to prevent. Obviously, if the rising cost of gold or rising price of gold is moving slow, they're going to look to make money elsewhere. But it would take a very long time to convince people to let go of their gold and have confidence to come back into the stock market. You could collapse the stock market.
Right. Does he think that, sorry, not does he, start again. What will happen to the US Treasuries market, which at the moment is having major problems? Um, US Treasuries are the lifeblood of the global financial system. And if people don't want to buy them, then that is going to be a big problem. Does he see that happening?
Do you see that happening? We are moving away from people wanting to buy treasuries. Traditionally, even average Americans would buy treasuries, US treasuries. Nobody wants to really do that anymore. I'm getting that it's not easy to do. They've made it more difficult than it needs to be, but that's typical government bureaucracy, he says. And they would rather just throw their money into the stock market.
Right.
They need people to buy treasuries.
Okay, but most people are not interested, like you say, and a lot of corporations, big wealth funds, and everything else are also not interested. But I mean, treasuries are one way they roll over the debt. So does he believe? I mean, I've always said that the buyer of last resort is the Federal Reserve. So does he say that the Federal Reserve will end up buying all the treasuries required?
That the Federal Reserve will end up buying all the treasuries as well. No, they need people outside or countries outside of the USA to buy treasuries. Nobody has any confidence in these treasuries anymore. Nobody wants to buy them.
Right. So how are people on the outside going to buy them when nobody has the confidence in them? Why would you buy them? The only
Well,
way
they
you
won't.
Right. Unless the coupon rate, in other words, the interest rate that they receive is so high.
And they have to raise interest. They can't afford to do that. People do not understand how broke the USA is. They don't get it. And now we're being portrayed as the evil people, the villains who are cutting off, care and medical care and things that we've been shelling out all over the world is what I'm getting. They don't understand. The USA is broke. It's very evident. It's broke. It is on the verge of bankruptcy and collapse. Nobody seems to get it. They just seem to think that there's this endless pot of money. Yes, we have billionaires here. Yes, we have millionaires here. He's even saying we have trillionaires here, silent trillionaires. We do have it. It may not be cash in the bank, but all acquired property, if you put all of their assets and everything together, there's definitely trillionaires here. Yes, we do have that, but the system is broke. And I just asked him a question. Then what should people do if there is, a possibility for a collapse? And he says, buy gold.
Right. Well, that was basically the thesis of my all my stuff on the Discord today. I mean, gold does very well in deflationary times, and if we're going to have some kind of debt crash or anything like that, then you definitely want to be into physical. You want to be owning physical gold.
It's the only thing he says that will retain and hold its value.
Correct.
The gold prices will not collapse. The physical gold prices. The paper, he says, that's just play money. That's like monopoly money. But the physical gold will not collapse. So would you say that everybody should have, so say you have a portfolio. What percentage of that portfolio should be physical gold? Now he says 30%. So 30% of your overall portfolio when it comes to investments should be 30% hard physical gold that you keep yourself in a storage, in a vault, in a safe. You have immediate access to it because if there's a collapse, he doesn't even trust the banks. I mean, he's JP Morgan. He said, but they'll raid and loot your gold. And it doesn't matter. Nobody can do anything about it. You need to hold on to your money yourself.
Right. Oh no.
What about silver? He says no, silver does not have the same power as gold.
No. Okay. Let me just think. Does he believe that when the reset comes, there's two types of reset. There's two types of reset that people talk about. There's the one that the WEF want, where you'll own nothing, be happy, which is communism with the twist on top, where they own everything and nobody else is happy. There's that type of reset. Or there's a reset where, yes, we have to go through massive pain, but we become debt free afterwards. So an example of that would be the Soviet system. Under the old Soviet system of Russia, when the Soviet Union collapsed, because they owned pretty much all of the residential buildings, the workers, the factory, everything, the state owned everything. Once the system had collapsed, they basically gave everything. So whatever house, apartment, flat, farm, whatever you worked in, whatever, you were given it. And so you were given it debt free. So that was a reset of the system that actually benefited everybody. Does he believe that when the system finally resets here, this will be of benefit to people?
No, they will still want to control it all at the top.
Right.
And the other people own nothing.
Oh, joy. Okay. Uh, how do you protect yourself? What's your best protection against those kind of actions, in his opinion?
What's the best protection against those kind? You have to be completely debt free.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
If you own something with a mortgage, if you own something that has debt, they'll recall it and take it back into ownership, because if the system collapses, you won't have the cash to pay for it.
Right.
Therefore, it automatically rolls over back to them. They
Yeah,
are now in control. You now rent where you live.
yeah. Oh, I think that's very much on the cards. I think that's, I put on my post on thing, people like BlackRock are just waiting for this to happen, then they can go around and buy everything up, for pennies on the dollar. Yeah, I mean,
Well, they
debt is
don't
a big.
even have to, they don't have to buy you out.
No, no, no,
Right?
no.
It's
Yeah,
it's not a matter of, oh, we're going to make you an offer for your house. It's you can't pay back, because most people live paycheck to paycheck, right?
right.
That's how most people live. That's just a fact. And if if the system collapses, you can't pay on the debt, the mortgage, the car loan, the whatever it is you've got. Now, bank loans are different because they can come in and try and take whatever, but they're not going to get much. But it really is about property and vehicles, mainly property. Vehicles are property too, obviously.
Yeah.
Um, they'll just take it back, and then now it belongs to them. And they will say, oh, instead of having to evict everybody out of these homes, we're just going to send you a rental agreement. You can stay there, but you will be renting for the rest of your life. Now, I don't feel that what he's telling me is that the rent will be insanely high if there's not any money, right? Then they may do rent forgiveness for a year or two until the system starts working again. And then they send you the rent bill and it's increasing, and they can increase it each year. They are now in control. They now own the USA. They are more powerful than the government.
Mm.
They will be able to dictate to the government the terms. Is this what they're waiting for? Yes. I mean, ultimately, he says they know that. And then what happens? So if the system collapsed and the banks recalled all the mortgages and they take all the property and just allow you to live there and be happy, right? And the jobs are not available, because we're already seeing it over here. Actually, when you and I did that video a while ago where we said, okay, we're going to have like AI and robotics taking over, lots of job losses, and there's not going to be the jobs out there to replace, for people to replace their job losses with. This is exactly where we're headed. So
Yeah.
then you end up on a universal basic income. The universal basic income, and we just did this probe at the weekend with a guy who is becoming a mathematician. He's brilliant, actually. And he says, okay, so if I'm in England and the universal basic income, is it going to be like 5,000 pounds a month in today's money? And no, it's going to be like 1,800 pounds per month per household in today's money. If
Mhm.
it's the US and if it's in today's money in the US, and we're talking about a household, an average family with 2 to 3 kids, what I'm getting is a higher, it's going to be about 2,000, maybe just over $2,000. And you will be given, food boxes, and you better make do on that. Now, nobody in their right mind can live on $2,000. Yes, the banks will have to, if they want to collect money, they will have to lower, he says, the rent to the point where people can actually afford it. But yeah, this is where we're headed. So how far out into the future do we see this mass universal basic income for us here in the USA, and I'm getting it's still 20 to 30 years out.
Right.
In the UK, it's much less than that. So when they start, rolling out this universal basic income in the UK, I feel that's going to start in the 2035-ish. The UK will never be able to turn the country around. It would take a complete radical, he's telling me. It would need somebody so radical, and they would never win the popular vote ever, because with radical change you have to make a lot of unpopular decisions, and you would have to go in there knowing that you would probably end up being the most hated male or female in existence, and they're not willing to do that. So you're looking at universal basic income coming into the UK around 2035, the US a bit longer, 2045, 2050.
Okay. All right. Let's hold him there, and we shall pop over and have a chat with Milton Friedman, who we have.
I tell you what, let's make a part 2.
Okay.
All right, we're going to stop this one here because this is a lot of information. All of the information is very important. So we're going to make this in 2 parts because people's attention spans don't stretch out that far anymore. So yes, we'll see you on part 2.